Welcome to Grey Overload, and this week's Tony Tech Topics, we got some more news to go through. We're going to start off with the Nvidia GeForce 5050. Go listen to Gamers Nexus video on that. Yeah, it's just, don't buy it, buy used, buy something else. Don't buy it. This is getting ridiculous what they're doing here, and yeah, Nvidia is just squeezing out everything they can out of gamers, and they're going to keep doing it until we do something different, right? There's still the CUDA stuff that is pretty entrenched everywhere until, AMD keeps breaking through with ROCm, or Intel gets something going with their one API that they hope for. It's really it's the used market for people that need to use the CUDA stuff. Hopefully AMD keeps breaking through, but Nvidia is not giving us any sort of relief here with this card. It's an 8 gig card. And go take a look with what Steve over at Gamers Nexus was able to put this review on. But let's go over to something a little bit more interesting from Nvidia, which is there's supposed to be a 5090 out, a double D, and this is a Chinese card, or going to be targeted for the Chinese market. Looks like Kopite 7 Kimi had it, and that's going to be about a August release time frame. So really kind of interesting, trying to get around the U.S. export requirements here in the United States for that to go into China, and we will see if they get there at all for this, or if they might take it off again. But we shall see. There is also an update for by Zotac on VBIOS for 5060 Ti's. So that we're experiencing the black screen issues. This is something where if you are experiencing those, you have one of those cards, go get that BIOS update. So it seems like with all these driver updates that have been happening from Nvidia, they are still not through the woods yet, and that's one concerning thing I had. It seems AMD was having something with power issues with screens, 2 generations ago, or 1 generation ago? Yeah, the 7000 series a couple years ago. And this kind of seems like the black screen issue is what, equivalent, where they're still patching, still trying to fix stuff on it to get this fixed, and kind of what AMD was going through back then. It's one of those things. I hope they can get down or get it done soon, because people buy those cards, and these are cards that people want to play games with. Black screen issues, they're not helping that point, and it's just kind of, well, not making you be able to play anything for that time until you resolve that screen issue, reboot or whatever needs to be done for that, which, if you're in the middle of a game, or if you're like me and you don't like to reboot that often, it is a pain, especially with all my windows that I have up, and gets everything working in a right order. I want to keep it that way. We have one more story here on Nvidia, which is the CEO, they have to announce to sell stock, and he's going to be selling more than 800 million. WCCF Tech had this, and while I don't really talk too much on stock stuff, I find it fun to watch. It's one of those things where he's selling at all times high. We're getting the 50 out. He's making a lot of money. I'm sure that he's not too worried about everything going on. I think he'll be able to make it through at least this next month. Who knows? But uh, these are one of those things where you're just taking a look at it. And you're just like, yep, Nvidia is doing really well as a company, and there is no moment that they won't be able to squeeze out more from its consumers, whether that is on the AI side or on the gamer side. So get ready for that to continue here, but they are doing well. No shortage of that anywhere. So let's jump into some Intel stuff this week, which is Intel ousted, however you want to put it, their old CEO here is now talking quite a bit. He wasn't able to finish what he started. Very disappointed in that, and he just said he wasn't given the opportunity. This is one of those things where, yeah, you weren't given the opportunity. Intel was not on a good track. I don't know yet underneath the new CEO if they are on a good track. We will see this where those momentums, right, are going. At some point, there's still some Pat Gelsinger stuff that's going to be going, products still being released that were started underneath his tenure. Are those going to help Intel be turned around? And will he get some credit for it? Will be interesting to see. But Intel, with all their struggles that where he was under when he was the CEO of it, and under him, that's one of those things where you're just like, okay, Pat, I see that you may have been trying to do something, but there was already some cracks in the armor of what was going to be able to be made up. And where are we now? Where do you think that you would be differently from where they are now? I don't know if Pat is really thinking about that or taking that into consideration, but he is going through and trying to make sure that his legacy isn't just you just continue to run Intel into the ground after you were CEO. And he wants to say, some of my projects here as they come up, I want to finish what I started, and I never got that chance. And we'll see. We'll be able to assess, as this goes forward. And who knows, maybe the new CEO has already cut some things that he wanted to go into the future and see. But it'll be interesting with Intel, because especially with the new CEO saying that they want 50% margin and everything, I have my concerns that they're going to be able to achieve that without pricing out their products outside of a market, wherever that is, going against Nvidia and AMD on the graphics side, AI side with Nvidia as AMD kind of gets more and more into that market, the CPU side with, well, I guess you could even say Nvidia there too, but AMD on the x86 side, but ARM as soon as that comes out. I mean, this is where Intel's stronghold on mobile processors, I think, is keeping them afloat enough and bringing in some of their revenue. Granted, they'll still have some server sales and stuff as AMD's still growing, but there's still some legacy there with that sort of things. And hopefully they get some more competitive processors out there to be able to withstand some of the hits that AMD's doing against them with the good products that they're releasing. It's one of those things where I like to see some of the fruition. Intel did buy a whole bunch of stuff when they probably shouldn't, and I think even some of that was before Pat. And it's all coming where, hey, we actually have to make hard decisions now because we got a little sloppy in finances and making sure that we were going to be the top dog the entire time. Now, Intel does have another price cut though on the Ultra 7 265KF. I was on video cards, and they were going through. It's 40% down from the launch price at this time, 229 for this. It's starting to show that maybe you can. Okay, I'm gonna go there. Maybe they are still getting 50% margin on it, but it was one of those things where I've been thinking about this, is that they're finally starting to put a product that's priced in a range where, you know what, it's not a bad idea to go get the product. Now, this is one where if the next generation is not going to be on that 1851 motherboard, that's where I think this might have to come down a little bit, because you're basically buying this for, as long as you're going to use it, and then once that's done, it is a new motherboard upgrade from there, a new CPU. You don't get to reuse that motherboard multiple times, whereas, AMD has, even on AM4, if you had something a little bit older and you want to upgrade, now you can get a 5500 X3D. There's a new processor here today, and so AMD has been committed, what is that, 9 years later, for that, 8 years later, something like that, 8, 9 years later on that motherboard platform. That shows that, as long as AMD is going to hit 3 generations with, at least with AM5, people are going to look at this as, yeah, that's something I'm willing to look at. I've done more CPU upgrades as of late because more people have been going with the AM5 motherboards, or even AM4s in certain circumstances from prior builds I've done. But then they're just like, okay, I got to throw in a new CPU. I got to have more power. This PC has a longevity here where it wasn't having that before. And that's where I think Intel should take a look at and maybe make their next generation, if it is going to be a new motherboard. We're looking at this, 3 generations out, and we're going to, put it 3 generations, even if we have to put even if, let's say it goes to 4 generations, we put a minor, you know, increment, basically a plus side of things there. I just don't want to see it continue to run on and be like, you know what, it's just a generation, maybe 2 generations, maybe, one this time. We're going to decide later on. Let's have some forthright and some planning so that you build your consumer base of being reliable, as in, or the consumer base is going to look at you reliably and say, you know what, Intel, even though they upgrade a little bit quicker than AMD or update at the same pace as AMD, at least now they're committed to making sure that we're going to have some upgrades in the CPU platform. So if I buy into it, I can get to a point where they are going to give me more performance than not. I mean, I have my kids, they have a 12th gen there. I could go to a 14th gen. I haven't yet. Some of the 14th gen stuff and 13th gen, I've just decided not to. They're probably not going to need it for that system, but it's one of those things where, know what? That is an option, and I have considered that, especially if they wanted to get more into gaming and stuff as they get older. That might be an option here. Now, granted, there's probably going to be a new computer build at this point, but, the 12th gen still works quite well. But I do like the fact that I can go buy a new CPU, drop it in there, and I get more performance, which 1 generation you just don't get that with. But at least that price is coming down, and I like that Intel has put some effort into dropping that price down. So I think that is all I had for Intel this week here. Now, there is some rumors out. I was reading this morning, and Video Cards also post this as a rumor. I highly recommend you guys. It's a rumor, right, so far. But there was the Ryzen AI Gorgon Point APUs. These are 400 series, because since they screwed up their naming for all this stuff. So, it looks like it's Zen 5, Zen 5C cores, RDNA 3.5, XDNA 2. Little upgrade here on these. So we'll see how these are all released, how they're received. This is oh wait, these are set to launch next year. I misread this, or I'm thinking of something else. But these are what AMD is going to get out, keep putting out new systems. Basically every year, right? They want to hit a new mobile chips, for laptops and get those released, which I think is a good idea. Just kind of mimic what Intel does until you break in and you have a significant portion where you can drive where that is. I know back to school is a huge driver of this as well, and you take a look at how these things get, these laptops get put out there. If Intel, takes a significant hit, and let's say Qualcomm and maybe Nvidia can do that and help there and make it a different kind of ecosystem, maybe you can do different things with launching. But right now, you're kind of playing by Intel rules in all this, and we'll see how well they perform in that market. But so far, even with the Ryzen AI 300, my brother got one in a framework, very nice chip, works really well. He likes it a lot. The upgrade, he had the 7040 for a little bit. With what he was doing on there, it was just not performing as well as he needed to. So we took care of that, and he upgraded to the 300 with 12 cores and really likes it. So it's a really well performing chip overall. Been very impressed since he's had it. He's just got it a couple weeks ago, and so far been very impressed. And he can put it through the paces a little bit and let me report back, and with the framework stuff, a little bit better than the framework 7040 in performance, which is what he was looking for, and it solved a lot of his problems, so that was good to hear. But AMD also was talking about, well, I guess it's rumored. They weren't really talking about it. It was a rumor for this. Some hardware leakers, Kepler L2, right, was talking about RDNA and UDNA, that's all unified architecture that we're finally going to get to. So the PS6 is supposed to, and Xbox, right? We're still getting the Xbox. We'll get to some of that. I did an Xbox video this week on some of the hardware, but that's supposed to be more UDNA side of things. Big jump rate in ray tracing performance. Better CPU, better, they're saying a 2x RT AI performance, a 20% increase in CPU performance. I wonder what the core count's going to be. I'm really interested in that because let's say they go with a Zen 6, so that's a 12 core CCD. Let's say they go to 12 cores. That could be, where 12 core multi-threaded games start hitting there. Moore's Law is Dead had on, Matt, I think it's Matt, this last episode, I decided, the gamer, game dev that works with games, and he was talking about multi-threading. Now, I do a lot of software development. I don't work in games, but a lot of stuff I deal with is with multi-threading stuff, and it is a problem. It's a fun problem, I think, to be able to get all that communication to work quite right. It's fun for me, but doing that, and you can start seeing where if a console, and let's say they're going to do, the baseline consoles at 12 cores, and then also maybe a little bit more powerful GPU, but have 12 cores, a little bit faster clock speeds for the more powerful consoles, however that is, right? I'm guessing there's going to be a PS6 and then PS6 Pro later on. I'm guessing there's going to be a S version and an X version of the console at some form here, and maybe they go 8 cores on the S just to do it, so you have a minimum of spec of always of 8, and then you go to 12 for the more performance stuff. Could be interesting to see how games take advantage of that in the future with this, but they have a lot of these semi-custom stuff. We're going to get more and more rumors here until these consoles are released, since we're in this console generation a little bit long on the tooth. I would like to see 3D V-Cache on the consoles. I'm guessing they will not, because that will drive up cost. But maybe they will. I mean, it'd be really fun to see, right? These are game boxes, and we've seen good performance gains on X3D chips when you put that on there. So we'll see where this all goes for that. But I would be I like to see the 3D cache on these SoCs if at all possible, especially since AMD has worked real hard to develop this over time. We could see some games and even take better advantage of it on the desktop side. We've heard Intel's next gen Nova Lake might have these basically 3D V-Cache equivalent as well, which would be really cool. We start seeing both processors. I'd like to see what Intel can do with that. I am slightly surprised it's been taking so long for Intel to get this out, considering that they even are using TSMC for some designs. That is, well, I mean, Fervros, right? They're supposed to have that out. I've been concerned of why it's been taking so long, but hopefully they, get this turned around, and we'll see some more competition, some more oomph out of Intel. So there. Another side thing on there, Intel's been talking a lot, or AMD has been talking a lot about their AI side of things and their chips working with a lot AI, and it now seems like they are going to be able to deliver a portfolio that's much better than what it has been before. And one thing I was noticing this week in WCCF Tech, they also had an article on this, is because of like the ZI or the ZT systems that they acquired, the MI400, accelerators, and what's coming out here, and what they've been able to even release with the MI350 and 355. They're going to, a lot of analysis of this on the stock side and the business side have been, hey, you know what, they can maybe close the gap with Nvidia, and if they're able to do that, their stock increase, I think, is taking advantage of what Nvidia took advantage of to be one of the world's most valuable companies now. will be probably come with their stock as well, at least in some factor. So interesting little tidbit. I was reading about some business stuff because I am interested in some AI and stuff like that, which is, you know, we're in the AI world, so we got to keep this as well. So, there is let's get into some gaming side of things. I think that's all for AMD. First, I want to talk about that Samsung is talking about or launching, I should say, talking about, hey, they're just talking about it, right? But they have some new QD OLEDs, 15 or 1600 bucks. They look quite interesting. Not a huge fan of the built-in 4K camera, a lot of that stuff. Like, do I need a built-in 4K camera? I get where some people may want it. 120 hertz, or wait, my bad. It was 165 hertz. 120 hertz was the VA one, right? Some really cool stuff that they're putting out here is that M9 monitor. Looks pretty cool. Got a nice design to it. Yeah, 165 hertz, 60 hertz on the next one down, the M8. Then they also have an M7, but the M8 and the M7 are VA panels, not the OLED panels. And they also have smart TV apps if you want those on there. It does run Tizen. Probably want to make sure that Tizen is in stuff, so they can keep developing it and keeping it around, right? There's got to be a reason for it somehow. You got some display ports, HDMI on there for the interface. Look pretty cool. Yeah. If you're looking for a monitor, might be something to consider. I don't have enough monitors, or I don't have the money to buy all these monitors to test, but it is out there. Now, we do have Unreal Engine 5.6. It's supposed to actually be able to go through and help out a lot of the issues in 5.4. So better frame rate times, reduce the frame rate spiking. So times and spiking there as well. Better frame rates overall, smoother performance, and as they get, I was listening to Matt Elderon Games. It came to me finally on Moore's Law is Dead. Highly recommend you check out that weekly podcast he does, especially with like Matt, the one that he just had on, did a really good job. And as he was saying, it's more multi-threading and stuff they go through. And my guess is that if you're just working on multi-threading and you're just trying to get this all together, and you've gone through one iteration or two or something, and as you learn better techniques and as you learn how different processors and different, with memory and everything else, and how that all communicates, different processes within each other communicate, you're able then to kind of mitigate where you have issues, right? There's a learning curve that is needed when you go through and you start doing multi-threading to make sure that you're catching the issues and not running into crashes, and then being able to then see those and debug those and make sure you can implement fixes. And so there's a little learning curve there, and then make sure you get your test systems up to then test across different threads depending upon how it is, to be able to do that. And I expect Unreal Engine to continue to improve in that area. So 5.6 with the better performance, and that's always a good sign to see. And I like to see different things there come to fruition, because in the end, if it's going to make games better and it's going to make a game that I play better, more rock solid, better performance, I'm going to be happy about that. So we will go on to some of the Microsoft side stuff with the gaming side. We'll get to more of some of the other Microsoft stories later with Windows. Could be fun there. But there's rumored Xbox layoffs. There's even rumors of they're saying up to 2,000 employees in the rumors. Studio closures are possible. This is go check out the video I talked about. This is one of those things I am kind of worried about what they're doing. I hope that they don't shutter studios. I hope that they instead try to get the studios to maybe develop a game. This is one of those things where when they bought ABK, Activision Blizzard King, I was very worried that this would not turn out well for the gamers. There would be less IP in the future for us to play games on. I hope that this is not that. I hope that this is all stuff with IP that has not been released, or they had no plans of releasing stuff maybe, but I am not going to hold my breath in there. Hopefully these people can get back on their feet quite quickly, and I want more content, right? Yes, I do not play as many games as I want to play. I happen to still buy the games and put them in my backlog of category, or backlog of stuff to play eventually, but I want to see more games. I have a friend that plays a lot of games, and he really enjoys playing games, and he's always looking. Right now, he's got a good backlog of games and stuff, and he's excited for. But he does get through games. You know, he could always use another game. You know, it's not like he's a shortage of games there, and so that's one thing where I hope that they keep releasing and keep up there and figure out what they're trying to do and navigate of what they're trying to make Xbox a brand as, instead of just making it so I'm here looking at it like, you know what, I have no idea what Xbox is as a brand, and I don't know, I don't even know how I'm supposed to address this, but you know, maybe I'll buy an Xbox again. You know, as I've said, I'm thinking about trading in the Xbox and stuff, so it's one of those things where it's I am very curious about what the direction is. They have a lot of them, but maybe they might not pick the best way to do this. Now, in this, in the taking of, let's see, in the talking of games, sorry about that. Stalker 2 gets a big update. Again, my friend, he was a big fan of this, a big fan, or had the game, right? And so he downloaded the patch. And so they also have modding tools and stuff. Big update for Stalker 2. So if you're into that game, looks like that they did some nice tweaks, performance improvements, you know, and ultra wide stuff, technical improvements. Looks pretty cool overall from the video I've seen. I've not played this yet, but it launched last November, and you're getting an update here, big patch 1.5, and if you're playing Stalker 2, don't forget to check that out as well. So glad my friend sent me that to keep up on. But let's go over to one of the things. One of the things that was on Moore's Law is Dead podcast with Matt from Elderon Games is the PlayStation 5 issues having. And this is one where I'm surprised I've not heard more from it from Sony. And, you know, the news is we're going to go take a look at it. We're going to actually, you know, see what's going on. But my question to Sony is, why haven't you just decided, you know what, we are going to make a repair program, $30 to send it in, $20, $40, something like that to send it in. We'll take a look, we'll repair it, reapply the liquid metal if needed, you know, make sure that it's applied correctly. But it looks like that the liquid metal isn't making enough contact, and the systems are shutting down if you push your game and you use a lot of it. Now, me personally, I buy, you know, I get where Matt's coming from. Do I need a low power game so that people don't go and say, hey, it's your game that's breaking these consoles? And I get that, right? You need something so at least people can play the game. But I will say this: if I bought the console and the liquid metal is causing an issue, man, this is something that I'm not going to be happy about at all. Would leave a bad taste in my mouth with the Sony consoles. You're trying to build a brand every single point in time, right? Xbox isn't doing a good job of it, and Sony has an opportunity to crush it here with this and say, guess what? You know what? There is a mistake here, and the APU, the SoC in here does not have the correct, it doesn't seem to keep the liquid metal on correctly, and we're going to fix these consoles. You just send them in, we'll have a whole process set up. We'll make sure that they're back ready to go, get the liquid metal on, test them, make sure that they can hold and play these heavy loads for a period of time, and send them back to you. I think that would build the brand, and it would also feel, even if it was out of warranty, I think you should do this. But it would also be like, you know what, Sony's committed to me. I want to go buy another console by Sony, because they are going to make sure that they take care of me if something were rise because of something they overlooked in the design process. It looks like, some of these other consoles now on the APU, they even have like channel CNC'd into that. And so they're trying to keep that liquid metal on there at the most part. But, as much as, I get where Matt's coming with from an Elderon Games of doing a low power mode, I paid for a console to play at full power. I want to use it at full power. And it's not his fault, right? At all. And if he has a game that's able to push the hardware like this, congratulations to him. I think that's a really good work, because it sounds like he works from, just seeing him on Moore's Law is Dead and just how he communicates with the community. He's really trying to create a game that is, proficient, performant, works well across the board. And if he's able to feed that processor and that SoC graphics side and CPU side in a way that it is able to have the CPU or SoC shut down. This is one of those things where if I'm Sony, I'd be saying, you know what, we like this. This is a test scenario for us, and we got to make sure maybe bring some of these games that are willing to really push a console in performance in a little bit earlier in our next validations of things, so we can or have their game support our next gen console a little bit early with a dev box or something, so that they can push this, so we can maybe get some trial runs or something to see if we have a performance issue or a cooling issue in our console, something like this later on. That's what I'd be thinking. But if you have a PS5 and you're having issues, I highly recommend you go. I'll take a look at what Elderon Games and Matt has put out there as well. I think there's a Discord thing that they've done, if I recall correctly, and hopefully Sony will have more on this. I think they should take care of their customers. I think it would be a great building opportunity for them, for people to be like, oh yeah, this is why I buy Sony. They do take care of their customers. They care about us gamers, which is a huge win right now, because you got Nvidia not caring about gamers. You got Microsoft confusing gamers, and you have you guys that would be like, we're delivering for gamers. It could be an option here for you, Sony. Now, Battlefield 2. Now, how many people have played that? That was me, and this is 20 years old. So, yep, 20 years old, and I remember playing 1942, Battlefield 2, and it's been a lot of Battlefield games here. We're in Battlefield 6 maybe next year, but 2042 is out now. Man, it's been a wild ride, right? There's good memories here on Battlefield 2 back in the day. But EA's gone through a lot of changes, been, you could say worse of a company here in more recent years than they were 20 years ago. But it was a fun, they did a good job on those games back then. I enjoyed them playing and growing up. So I wanted to mention that because I did enjoy that game a lot. So that was pretty cool. It's 20 years old. Actually makes me want to go. I remember I had I had the disc, right, with that huge, the huge box for that, right, and it came with I think it was 1 or 2 discs with the big 2 on it. Oh, do I still have that someplace? I don't know, but maybe I can get that. Maybe I might have to download it again and buy it. Oh, it's a fun game. I do enjoy it. But let's jump over to some of the Windows stuff. Let's end on this stuff because it's the funny things. Microsoft still has not fixed the Windows Vista sound in Windows 11. They're not giving up, according to NeoWind. So thanks, NeoWind. Your headline was excellent on that. Yep. So they fixed it, but it's not fixed properly. Again, here's my thing. Instead of just being like, we're going to fix this, go like, you get to select the startup sound now. We're going to have every single startup sound, Windows 3.1, all of them, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Vista, Windows XP. Let people choose startup sound. Be done with it. Just make it a down selector, done. So, there we go. Apple's bringing back Vista to life anyways. So let's bring it back, with them, with the sound here, Microsoft. They want that glassy look on Apple. Just make sure that you bring the sound back for your OS. There is if you are a admin, you can now do hot patching for certain updates on Windows Office PCs, as they call them. So I like to see this everywhere, Microsoft. I mean, I'm guessing we're still going to have to reboot. Man, that's really the only time I reboot my PCs, especially at work, is for an update. So this is one where just release it to everybody. I think you'd also have a lot more, a lot more people testing it, iron out. I don't like that I'm saying this that way, because I don't want Microsoft to think that we're all beta testers, even though that they treat us like it. However, I do think that having us test all of these all of these features that Microsoft is coming out with, and putting them in a wider range of people to test out to see if the reboots work or don't work, or making sure that the non-rebooting works well, is to get this out to just as many people as possible, so that we don't run into an issue in a work environment, an office PC, that is having an issue or a bug issue because it was not rebooted after an update. So that is all I have this week. We're keeping it longer than normal. So I want to thank you so much for watching Gray Overload and help this channel grow. I really do appreciate it. I know the last 2 weeks it's just been 2 videos a week. We will get back to 3 videos here after the 4th of July break. So we got holiday here the next week in the United States, but we'll get back to 3 videos. Hopefully I can get some computer builds in. That's the plan, is to finally drive down to Micro Center and get some of those done. But I want to thank you for supporting this channel. Don't forget to watch another one of my videos. Like, share, subscribe. That really does help with the channel. Until next time, God bless.